Alright, so after 1,000 hours of Remnant, I'm finally using the Kinetic Shield Exchanger. While you have a shield, you do 25% more mod damage, generate 30% additional mod power. The gameplay you're going to see is on Apocalypse, so you can kind of see how this whole shenanigans that I'm doing here does on the hardest difficulty. I'm going to ramble about the amulet for a minute, so if you don't want to hear that, you can cut right to the loadout and like boss gameplay or whatever you want, right? I have chapters in there. But the amulet itself, it seems pretty straightforward, right? It's like the other ones. You just have a shield, you get bonuses. Like, okay, sounds pretty good. But I think there's something about the way I'm like looking at it or trying to use it where it's just clunky, man. Like it just feels harder to use than the other ones that I'm trying to do, right? And I think it has to do with like kind of like the method of it in a way. So what I mean by that is, right, my last build I did like a bow shield range damage deal. So my focus of damage was range damage through my bow, and in order to generate the shields to get my bonuses on the amulet, I had to shoot my bow. So I would shoot my bow, it gives me a shield, which then in turn increases the damage of my bow, right? So like the method of damage is generating the shield to increase the damage of my damage source, right? Like it all feeds into itself. And it's the same thing whenever I do like a melee build. When I do a melee build, it's the mutator on the melee weapon. So I'm focusing on melee damage, and then by doing melee damage, I'm getting shields, which then in turn increase my damage, like it feeds into itself. With this one, the kinetic one, there's no like ring or anything that gives you shields for using your mods and stuff. So you have to rely on other sources, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's not like it's hard to do, right? But it adds like extra steps into it that I'm not amazing at keeping up with, and it just feels really tedious. Or like I'm doing here, I have to really rely on my shielded heart, which I don't necessarily love doing because you only have so many uses of it, right? And so it just puts me in this like weird spot that I don't particularly like. And so I'm trying other things. And I'm really hoping that with the DLC, they'll add some kind of ring that will like give you shields whenever you use mods, or like some other shield source rings, right? I think that would be really nice. Will they do that? I don't know, maybe. I need to get out of that though. Ouchies. So we'll see, and again, a good portion of it is probably just how I'm looking at trying to use it and just not doing it as efficiently as maybe I could be. I will say this though, like I don't think the amulet is bad, because it is a 25% damage increase to your mods, which is the highest ones, right? As far as like amulets that give you mod damage, like they don't go above that. And the cool thing about it too is like your other mod damage amulet, like the golden ribbon, which does 25%, gives you haste when you use a mod. And then your amulets that give you mod power generation don't actually increase your mod damage. Like Reed of the Vaunt gives you like mod power generation, but it just has stuff to do with charges. Doesn't actually increase your damage. So in that regard, this amulet is kind of unique because it allows you to get 30% more mod power generation and do more damage. So it can cover, like in some of my ring slots, normally I would put in some like kind of mod generation. I don't need to because it's another 30% right there, right? So it's nice in that regard. But let's get rid of this guy, and then I'll give you the overall lowdown. You've probably seen how the build is already working. We're just summoning things and then letting them do the work. Starting from the top, right? It's a mod build because that's what the amulet's about. So we're doing mod archetypes. We've got ourselves an Archon. We've got ourselves Summoner. I got this as my primary because I want the automatically generating mod power. Help sustain things. Though I'll be honest though, I should try it without that and just maybe try it with this one as a prime, because then we could like keep boosting our minion damage if we hurt them. But I also don't really like juggling that either. So whichever way, right? But yeah, obvious choices. Mod damage, mod, sustain, mod damage. The minions are just kind of nice. And because of how often we're using our relics, we're always getting that Insight perk so that our minions are always regenerating health and always doing additional damage, extra crit chance, right? Armor-wise, I'm kind of sticking with the Nerud theme right now, even though I have all kinds of things across here. Technician armor with the Navigator helmet. The relic is the shielded heart. This is our main source of doing shields. Actually, it's our only source right now. It gives 100% of our max health over 20 seconds. We've got increased mod damage, increased shield amount, and mod duration in there. Pretty straightforward. We've got mods that last for a long time. We want them to do more damage, right? Kinetic shield exchanger. We've already talked about it. Mod damage and mod power while we have a shield. Power saver. So while we're at max health, we have a 35% chance not to use a relic charge. So we're going to basically open up fights by using our relics and have a decent chance to not consume the relics. You know, we're really going to try and like lengthen or extend how much we can use them by. Burden of the Destroyer, because I'm doing like mod and minion damage, like skill damage. Because I'm using my relic so much, you could go with like the Jewel of the Beholden, which is going to give you 15% more mod power when you use your relic for 15 seconds. That works out nicely, but because I have the skill things and it's just a little bit more ease of use, I guess, you know, Burden of the Destroyer, excuse me. You could go Shard Banded Ring 2, which does another just flat 12% to your mod damage. Conservation Seal, so whenever we start losing health, we get down to like 50%, we can have a 50% chance of not using our relic. So chance not to use our relic when we're at max HP, and then as we lose health, we have a chance not to use our relic as well. And it makes it better, which honestly, I haven't fully tested. I don't know if it like actually increases the amount of shield we get, but that would be pretty cool. And because we don't actually have any direct healed effects with our relic or skills, we have the generating band so that we're getting health per second, or regenerating a percentage of our health while we have a shield active. Now for the weapons and stuff, it's really, the long gun doesn't matter. It's a familiar I wanted. I've got feedback in there, so it's generating more mod power back, and then as it deals damage, generates mod power. So we're always going to have the familiar active, lasting for 21 seconds with everything we've got going on. The Nebula is just a top shelf weapon. Nano Swarm, same thing. It's basically, they're both pretty much the same. This is like more direct damage. This does the acid and corrosive effect. So like, you know, they're very similar in regards to each other. And the Nebula itself doesn't actually have any issues generating its own mod power. Like, it's always able to just like sustain itself. So Harmonizer in there is just making it do more damage, and then it really makes sure that our primary is like always ready to go. They're both just solid picks as far as mod uses. Because I'm going for ease of use here, I tried doing some stuff where I was like using various other like mods and things, and I wasn't feeling it, man. I just really was not. The only other one I was really liking it was actually Space Crabs, because I also just really like Space Crabs. So, trait-wise, because it's Apocalypse, I got to do Survivor stuff. Like, it's like maxed out Vigor and Fortify, Triage as well. We automatically have the Regrowth. But because we are doing the mods, we want our Spirit maxed out, which, I mean, with this, that's 20%, another 30% right here. So we're getting a lot of, like, mod power generation, especially when you consider that every time we use a mod, that Tempest perk where it's 15 mod per second, and then it doubles it when we cast a mod, so that's 30 mod per second, and then it's enhanced by like another 50%, and then all the other things like power creep and you know, the power leak, all those things giving us more mod power over time as we regenerate and use our mods is getting enhanced. So there's a lot of values getting enhanced by all that. But because I am using the Summoner, I did go Blood Bond and Rugged just to make sure my menus lasted a little bit longer. Wanted them to take some of the damage for me. I did kind of hear that was bugged, but I think that might have been fixed. I don't know. I did put on Amplitude because it seems to affect the radius on the Nano Swarm and Familiar, so they're much more far-ranging and will get guys further away from me, which is really nice. I mean, and that's pretty much it. There's not a lot to this thing. You could drop down and do all that. I'm not doing that. You just cast the mods, you know, and let them go. Let them do their thing. Like, most of the time for all your like small like fry guys like this, you don't need to be using Relic. Like, there's no point to it, right? Like, look how quickly they're going down. The minions and the Nano Swarm will do the job. If you really have issues with like mod power generation, like, you could probably cut out some of your spirit points and then just rely on the extra mod power while you have a shield, and then make sure that you alternate between using the Nano Swarm and the Familiar. You're obviously going to get more damage if you crank out both of them at the same time, but do what you got to do. Oh, I should mention too, I skipped over my melee weapon. I do have in shielded strikes on the Atom Slicer, because it's just another way for me to generate shields. I was doing stuff where I would kind of like sit back and then initiate with this, get some shields on me from that first attack, and then unleash some mod abilities that are now doing more damage and generating more mod power. Yeah, but see, like, we just activate the two of them together, and then they're just going to range out, you know, go flying out, take care of things that are probably above me. Look how... It's not quite the same as, like, when you use a magnifying glass, because with the magnifying glass, the things are just going across the map. But the combination of the two together, like, the trash guys aren't going to do any good. And you kind of saw it with the aberrant guy. If you watched me go through that, we're going to roll away here. Use our bubble to give us some defense. Use our relic now quickly. There we go. The bubble is really helpful just to slow guys down, block projectiles, things like that. But you saw with the aberrant dude that if we have a bigger enemy, whether it's like an elite or boss thing, we just focus on, you know, using our relic constantly to make sure we're doing more damage and more mod power generation. And then we play defense while our minions and summons are doing all the work for us, essentially. Alrighty then. Let's go ahead and fight ourselves the Custodian's Eye. Be pretty. It's a fun fight. I like it. I did use this setup to take on the little bug guy, Primogenitor. It was a fun fight. I just wasn't recording. It did fine. All I did was run around the room while the minions and everybody did all the work. So like even this, I should just be able to run around like this, use my relic, and then just let them do everything, right? Yep, that's it. That's the build. Just use your relic every so often to make sure you have a shield, right? Owie. Use it now. And the cool thing is too, like, so speaking of like mod power generation, something to think about is the fact that like whenever you use your relic as an Archon, you are generating mod power to both of your mods. So in a way, like, you don't have to have them completely recharge like while they're active. So even if they like technically don't recharge while you are using your mods, you could have them ready to go just by using your relic. And even here, this can sometimes be a difficult spot for me to do damage because I'm moving. But yeah, it's fine here. And see, we're still at 9 relic charges, right? And I've used it like 3 or 4 times, which is really nice. That ring is actually doing some decent work for me. I've had some trouble getting it to do consistent buffs for me in the past, but this fight seems to be doing pretty well. Use it now, please. Cool thing too, this skill is really good for this part of the fight. I think I used it a little early because I saw his blue eyeball. Yeah, so not this part. When he does a big barrage thing, the little slow ball barrier is perfect because it completely slows all those projectiles, giving you plenty of time to not get hit by them. Now, I am curious. I'm going to have a go at the at Sha'Hala. And Sha'Hala is not good for minions. Like, my minions are always all over the place, in the wrong place, getting completely shredded. My summon minions typically don't go for the right thing. We'll see how it does there, but it's probably going to be a fairly hard counter to this build. The other problem is, too, if you fight a boss that has empathy, you're kind of screwed too. Like, at that point, you could probably swap out our 2 rings, like the Power Saver and Conservation Seal, put on some other shield generating rings so that you don't have to use your relic. It's just that the relic is so much easier to use, you know? Alright.
I must gain access to the core where you are now. All you need do is shut it down. I can accomplish the rest.
Alrighty.
Yes, and you will help save this world. I can reward you materially as well.
Alright, we're going to do the alternate version of the fight. It's, you know, it's been a while. I kind of like it too. I mean, the fight overall I do enjoy. So, yeah, we'll see how it goes. Minions are up. 1, 2 mod. Oh, messed up the first one. And then we use our shields now. Alright. They are actually hitting him. That is actually surprising. Gonna be honest. I did not expect that to work out. Uh-oh. But I need to watch out. Oh, God, my frames. This is actually working out pretty okay right now. The worst part of it for me right now is because I am at a heavy encumbrance. Some of my stamina management is not as amazing as I would like. I like the medium load. Obviously, it's better for stamina, but I mean, right now we're doing fine. We still got 7 charges left on our relic, which is good. Uh-oh, this one. Get me out. Shit. I'm just going to use another relic now. Okay, that worked out. Ow, that hurt though. Let's use our bubble, and then this. We're getting really low on our relics now, unfortunately. Haven't been so lucky with those, which is a bit of a problem. Oh, let me out. Thank you. Owie. Okay, now we're sort of okay. I could also just do like one of these, like that, to give me a shield so I'm getting bonuses, right? It just requires a neutral dodge into the charge or to the melee attack, which is it is a bit heavy on that stamina cost, the Atom Slicer. It does work. Let me out. Oof. Okay, that's a little spicy. My shield. 1 relic left. All right. This will be fine, right? Totally fine. Because I'm at the mercy of, like, my minions hitting the right thing, too, you know, there's no guarantee that they're actually going to damage the thing that's, like, needs to be damaged. I can be really bad at dodging this thing, actually. They're doing all right there. Oh, that was bad on my part. Last relic. Oh, still there. Good, because, you know, missing a lot of health, which means we had a good chance of not using it. Okay. Alright. I think we maybe have this in the bag. A little close as far as relic charges go. Bummer. Well, we're going to try it. Yep, that was the last one. Alright, go get him, buddy. What's kind of amazing is our minions didn't die. That's honestly kind of surprising because my minions almost always die in that fight. So I guess that extra health regeneration constantly through the fight really kept them alive along with the rugged. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you do have a, if you have some kind of empathy modifier boss, you can't rely on the shielded heart, then what you're probably going to have to do, I would trade out the power saver and the conservation seal. And then because like we are using a lot of stamina to dodge and just move around the fight, using like the rerouting cable, just so as we move and do things, this is going to really help us out because you're just going to be getting shields just by running around and doing things, right? So that's a pretty solid choice, I would say. You could go with the glass bead, which I didn't favor it. White glass bead. Perfect dodges will get you that 15% shield. So, I mean, again, we're dodging the things a lot, so constantly just getting that 15% shield. If you want to weave in gunfire things, use a single shot weapon for the tightly wound coil, which is something I had been doing, right? Spending 75% of your magazine gives you a shield. If you are picking up a lot of things, you could go with a vacuum seal. That's kind of nice. Yeah, it's going to kind of depend on like what you have going on to like generate some shields. Well, that's pretty much it. It's okay. It's okay. I mean, it's a nice little boost to the mod damage, and it does give you more mod power. The issue I'm finding is just like, because I have to maintain shields and I don't have any like, you know, me using mods doesn't give me shields. I have to rely on other means to get the shields, which then like kind of messes with some of like my other options. And again, it's probably just me. There's probably some better way to do it that I'm just not about, but not my favorite one so far. But thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Give you some things to look at, try out, ideas, things like that. And until the next one, take care.